not that I don't want you here. It's something about the way you say my heart. I know that I don't make things clear.
Hey girl, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are coming back and are a loyal subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, and I appreciate you for coming back to hear more. So today's video is a highly requested video. Like when I say highly, I mean like highly requested video. I told you all in the last video that I posted about my relationship and how to get over your ex. That video, I told y'all if y'all got me to 500 subscribers, I would post this video, and y'all exceeded my request. So I just want to say thank you so much for your continued support, and thank you all who shared the video, and I just can't express how proud I am of this success, and I couldn't have done it without y'all. So let's jump right in, okay? So as you all know, if you watched that last video, if you didn't, let me bring you up to speed. I basically was in some pretty bad relationships, all long term, and I finally stopped that vicious cycle and decided I wanted to really find my husband. And I knew that I couldn't find who I would believe to be my husband if I continued on that downward spiral. I was at a point where I was dating guys who didn't respect me, or I was dating guys who didn't really believe in the same things I believed, or I was with them for their money, or someone who was just attractive but empty on the inside. And I felt like maybe I should compromise someone's looks for the things that I wanted, or maybe I should compromise someone's money for the things that I wanted. Either way, I knew that I shouldn't have to settle, and if I really disciplined myself and got rid of every guy, and yeah, every guy that I ever talked to, and started like fresh, then I kind of would open up the door for what God really wanted for me. So let's jump right in. In December, actually around December 2nd, is when I decided to cut everybody loose. Everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and attach a video now.
I'm going to not entertain anybody at all, like for this whole month of December. I'm gonna try and just focus on me, because I do feel like this is the last month of the year. I need to enter January right. I need to set the bar. I am going to a Christmas dinner with one of my guy friends. Anybody new that asks me for my number or wants to talk to me, I'm not even gonna respond. In person or on Instagram, but especially on Instagram, because that's where it happens the most. And all the men that are in my phone right now, I need to stop talking to them too. I need to go ghost. I really want to get to the point where I don't respond to nobody and just focus on me. I don't want no random texts from no dudes. Hey, Venus. Or what you doing? I don't want to see none of that. I want to be focused on getting me ready for 2020. Because I want my man in 2020. I don't want none of these men in 2019 to come in 2020. I don't want none of these men in 2019 to be my man in 2020. None of them. And if I know that, I don't even need to be talking to them. So that's what needs to happen. I'm gonna start working on that. I'm gonna start the day fast. I'm not texting nobody. I'm not giving my number out for this whole month. I'm scared. I've never done that. And it's hard because I know the devil gonna send somebody my way that I'm gonna be like, ooh, but I wanna, and it's gonna be hard, but I'm gonna do it. So, and then sometimes I'll be feeling obligated to text people back, and I don't have to. So I'm not. Thank you for suggesting that.
So during this video, as you could see, I was talking about how I just needed to cut everybody off and that it was time to start. And there was no more delaying. I was so tired of being with people or talking to people who didn't really value who I was. Or I found a guy that I kind of liked, but he just was not wholeheartedly well-rounded in what I wanted. And that during that time, I was really focusing on myself. I got closer to God. I started reading my Bible more. I started really finding out the things that I like to do. I really figured out the things that I did want in a guy and the things that I didn't want in a guy. And I realized while I was getting closer to God that my number one thing was he had to love God as much as I did. And even if he didn't love God as much as I did, he was willing to grow with me and was willing to pursue that godly lifestyle that I wanted my family to have. So fast forward, I've been working on myself for a solid, what, I guess 28 days, because on January 1st, let me tell y'all what happened. So I had to work New Year's Eve. But I had gotten off at 7 o'clock. I had ordered my little outfit from Fashion Nova, and I was like, oh yes, I'm so excited. It's gonna be there when I get home. I get there, it's delivered, and girl, I opened up the door hoping that there maybe would be a package, but there wasn't. Called my mom, and my mom's like, Venus, just go out, like just do it. Like, you don't really go out like that. You haven't been going out. And she's like, you know what, you're gonna regret it if you don't. Y'all remember that, okay? She said, you're gonna regret it if you don't. And I'm like, whatever. So I go over to my friend's house. She lets me borrow one of her dresses, and I'm like, this is not what I want to wear, but forget it, I'm gonna have fun anyways. So we get to this like this rooftop of this apartment, and I'm like looking around. Wow, this is like really nice. Like, whose apartment is this? But sorry, dropped my phone. I'm gonna need that because some of y'all said that y'all had some questions for your girls. So here we go. So as soon as I walk in, I immediately notice two guys standing like across the room, and I'm like, I see one of them and I'm like, oh, he's cute. And I'm just like, whatever. First thing I noticed was his smile and his dimple, and I was like, I got dimples. But I was like, whatever, y'all, whatever, right? So I continue on having a good night, and then it was like really cold, and this guy walks behind me while I'm recording a Snapchat, and he closes the door for me. And I'm about to show y'all the video right here. Boom. So as y'all can see, there was these like lovey-dovey eyes like exchanged, and I was like, whatever, like he's cute, but whatever. I'm still not looking for nobody. Night goes on, and we're about to leave to go to the club. So randomly, I'm like, where's that boy that I thought was cute at? And I look around and I don't see him, and then I finally spot him, and he's like in his phone, and I'm like, he got a girlfriend. He has a girlfriend, clearly, because he's like nowhere near me and my friends, and me and my friends are bad. So like, how you not around the pretty girls? Anyways, I was like, forget it. He definitely has a girlfriend because he's not paying me any mind. So he walks by, and actually there was this couple that was like standing in front of me, and they spilled liquor on my shoes, like all over my leg now. Like, I'm not talking about a little spill. I'm talking about like whole drink spilled on my foot. I'm looking around. I don't see no napkins. So then this guy walks by, and I'm like, excuse me, do you see any napkins up there? He's like, hold on, let me look. He went like missing for like a good 2 minutes. So I'm like, I guess there were no napkins. He's like, yeah, I found some napkins for you. So he literally takes the napkin and starts wiping down my leg with the napkin. And I'm like, who does this boy think he is? Like, okay, Mac man, like, okay, Mac man, you trying to be real cute. He knew what he was doing. So his friend records the whole thing. Now I'm about to show y'all the video. yeah, y'all can see your girl was blushing. My girl was trying to hide me from embarrassment, and I'm like low-key loving it. Like, what a flirt. Okay, so after that we ended up dancing the whole night. Like, I mean dancing all night. Like, you would have thought that we known each other forever. Like, he had his little arm around me and we vibing. He had his little arm around me and we vibing, like really vibing. Okay, so he was like, can I have your number? And I was like, no. And he was like, can you put my number in your phone and you text me? I'm like, fine, what's your number? Like, I get the boy number, text him, and he was like trying to be all like smooth, like, yeah, the place that you was at was my place and all of this blah blah blah. I'm like, boy, that wasn't your place. Like, whatever. Because I'm thinking he flexing, like, what you do? So he showed me the little key fob, and I was like, you know what? That make a lot of sense. He got a nice little place. He cute. Like, okay, no problem. So I was like, fine, I'll take his number. Continue to keep talking to him, and he asked me on a date. So I was like, sure. So it just so happens the day that we were supposed to go on a date, it was raining really bad where I was. And I was like, you know what? I was like, hey, like, it's raining really bad. I'm really not in the mood to go anywhere. So I'm like, can we just like reschedule? And I felt really bad, y'all, because I felt like he was really, really looking forward to that date. And I was like, dang, like, I feel bad because it's like raining, and I like stood him up like the day of, like hours before, moments before. So because I felt bad, I was like, let me FaceTime him. And that's a big deal for me. Like, my mom would always say, like, be that person to put yourself out there, because the way they react will tell you how they really feel about you. So I FaceTime him. He's sitting on the couch, and like, we're having a good little conversation. We're talking about like music, and I told him, I was like, I felt like I needed to call you because I felt bad. I didn't want you to think like I didn't want to talk to you. So during this conversation, I wasn't really expecting much out of it. It was more so to clear my guilty conscience for leading him on. But he did something that got my attention. And for all of you who want to know, like, what was it that got my attention? What was it that said, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. This is it. So during FaceTime, he said, you know, I don't want you to think I'm weird, but I want to read something to you. I'm like, what is he about to read? Like, what weird? Like, what's going on? Like, he trying to show me a comic, or like, is he into like sex novels? Like, I just want to know where this is going. I'm confused. So he goes, I want to read you this Bible verse. And I'm like, girl, I like dropped the phone. I was like, God dang, like, is he for real? And mind you, I didn't mention anything about my love for God, or like my relationship with God, or me wanting to be with someone who had a relationship with God. And here it is. He's just putting it out there. And I'm like, oh, I got the Bible app, you know, and I'm like showing him the Bible. He's like, yeah, I got the Bible app too. And I'm like, what? Like, just instantly a light went on. So right then and there, I said, look, I just ate, but I know you hungry. Like, you want to go to Waffle House? Let's meet at Waffle House. He was like, all right, I'm cool with that. So we find a Waffle House like this right between both of us. And it was 6 minutes away from me and 5 minutes away from him. So I'm like, dang, like, he lived about 10 minutes away from me. That's crazy. So we meet there, and immediately, of course, I'm just as attracted to him as I was when I first saw him. And we sit down at Waffle House. He ordered food. I wasn't hungry because, like, I had just eaten. And he just captured me. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in front of someone and you just feel like a little kid and you just like nervous. Like, it felt like elementary school, and I just was like finally talking to my crush. I was like, oh my God, like, I felt like this small, and I just kept blushing and kept trying to look away, but he kept making eye contact with me, making me so uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh my God, like, he's making me so uncomfortable. But it was like a good uncomfortable, because he just was like, when he was talking to me, it was like he wasn't looking at nothing else. You know, he complimented me. He was holding my hand, and I'm just like, this boy is like moving pretty quick. Like, why you holding my hand, baby boy? You don't know me like that. But I was just like letting it go with the flow. And so obviously, like, maybe about 2 hours in, and mind you, it's about midnight at this time, I'm like, okay, he seems really nice. He like loves God. Like, okay, do you have kids? Okay, he don't have no kids. Okay, do you have an STD? No STDs. Have you ever been married before? Never been married before. I'm like, what's the catch? Like, in my mind, I'm like, what's the catch? Do you have like some crazy ex-girlfriend? Are you a mama's boy? Are you broke? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to figure out how someone so sweet, nice, and engaged and loves God is right here in front of me. So fast forward, it's 6 a.m. y'all. We got there at midnight and we didn't leave till 6 a.m. when the sun was coming up. And the lady in Waffle House was just like, y'all been talking for a long time. She's like, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen anybody hold conversations like that in a long time. Most people would be in their phone. Most people would have been like, you know, doing other things. And she's like, y'all didn't even get up to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, she right, you know, like, I didn't. So I was just very impressed with how the conversation went, how the night went. And afterwards we had left. After we leave the building of Waffle House, he walks me to my car, typical like perfect date. And I did something I've never done before. I was like, can I have a kiss? He was like, of course. So I kissed him, we kissed each other. And I was like, wow, like, he can kiss. Okay. I go home, headed home, and I text my mom and my sister in a group chat, and I said, I just met my husband. I found my husband. They both, so fast, called me. Like, when I tell you in like 2 minutes, they both on three-way calling me. And they're like, what are you talking about? What you mean? How did it go? And I'm like, y'all, this is my husband. Like, he was just so forthcoming with everything. Like, any question I asked, he just answered it. I asked him like how he felt about kids, how he felt about cheating, how he felt about space, and how he felt about affection, and how he felt about just boundaries, and so many different things that I just needed to know up front. And flying colors, you know. And my mom and my sister both said something that was extremely crazy. They both were like, Venus, you have never said that about any guy. And I'm 27 years old, and I've dated 2 guys, and they were long-term relationships for about 4 years. And I'm not going to marry him at all. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. He's a cheater, he's argumentative, he's shallow, he's judgmental, he's this, he's that. Like, so many different things. I'm like, I could not be with this person. He does not love God. You know, like, all these things, I'm just like, I paid attention to the fact that I knew I was not going to marry these men for multiple reasons. And here I am on a first date with somebody saying, I found my husband. Like, that's a very big deal. So time went on and we continued to talk to each other, text each other. I mean, we were basically glued at the hip, coming over all the time. Like, and he was very polite. He would leave at a reasonable time. Like, he would take me out to eat. Like, he just very mannerable, like, all the way, like, hold the door. And he still does that to this day. And I was just like, wow, you know, I was just so impressed by his consistency.
This is the sweetest shit ever.
So from the moment we met, which was on January 1st, he asked me to be his girlfriend on January 19th, which just so happens to be my sister's birthday. And I was like, oh, okay. My sister's like, that's my birthday. But anyway, I'll never forget that day, obviously. And the way he asked me to be his girlfriend was, we had like our usual Bible study, and he was sitting on the couch and he was like, hey, I want you to look at this verse. So he told me to go to this verse, and so I turned to the page and there's like a napkin in the crevice of the book. And so I just kind of moved the napkin to the side because I'm trying to read the Bible verse. And he was like, what is that napkin? Is that a napkin? He's like, what does it say? And so I opened the napkin and it says, will you be my girlfriend? And I cried like a baby. Cried like a baby, because it was just the most creative and cute and simple way to ask me to be his girlfriend. It was the one thing that had initially brought us together and got my attention. Also, I cried because that meant that someone wanted to commit to me, because I had been in so many different situationships from my last relationship up until that point where I couldn't get a guy to be interested in me for more than what I felt like was sex. And for someone to be serious enough to say they want to be with me, I was just like, are you sure? Because you're not about to play with me. I said the next person I'm with is going to be the last person for me. I've been waiting on this moment to be with someone that I felt like God truly wanted me to be with. And he's like, trust me, I'm just as scared. And you know, from that point forward, we continue to build and build and build our relationship, and it's flourished into the things that it is today. He's an amazing person, and it's amazing because he's just like me. I used to think I needed someone opposite, but no, he's just like me. We want to be around each other all the time. And some people are like, oh, that's not healthy. But if that's what you and that person want to do, is always be around each other, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if one person wants their space and the other person doesn't, then, you know, there can be some conflicting things right there. But that's not us. We're like best friends. And we still do our things on our own. Like, I hang out with my friends on my own. He hangs out with his friends on his own. But we miss each other like crazy when it happens. That's the summary of how I met him and how I prepared, you know. And I made sure that we always kept God first in our relationship, even to this day, because to me, that's how we met. Is, you know, me preparing myself as a godly woman and me wanting to meet someone who respected that. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into some of the questions that y'all asked me on Instagram, because y'all are just popping, and I want to make sure that I answer any questions that you may have, especially because a lot of you have been really waiting on this video. So let's go ahead and jump to Instagram. Alright. And so there's multiple questions from a long time ago that I'm going to also reference. These are the ones that are from today, which is September 23rd. Alright, so the first question is, how did you make sure you weren't lowering your standards? So alright, so one thing I did, like I was telling y'all before I met Cam, was I knew what I did want in a relationship and what I didn't want. And what I wanted was someone who was affectionate, someone that loved God, someone that was no kids, never been married before, you know, someone that was understanding, someone that could communicate, someone that wasn't a cheater, someone that wasn't a flirt, someone that wanted to build with me, someone who wanted to work through problems and not avoid them, someone who was working to make me feel secure, someone who could understand my past and know how to deal with me evolving from my past. So because of that, I said I'm not lowering my standards. I lowered my standards for the past 8 years. Like, I'm not lowering them no more, you know. And I refuse to lower them anymore, because every time I lowered my standards, I would beat myself up about it and say, man, if only I said no to this, and if only I said no, I'm not accepting that anymore. If I said that, then I probably wouldn't have been in the situations that I was in. So that's to answer that question. Next question is, how long were you dating before meeting him? So we met January 1st, and he asked me to be his girlfriend on the 19th, so about 18 days. But we were spending like every day together too, so we were really getting to know each other a lot. We were going to church together, we were praying together, like within those short days. Next question. What makes you want to be public with him when your last didn't end so well, and didn't you feel scared? So I told y'all from the first day that me and Kim hung out that I knew that was going to be my husband. And fun fact is, my Valentine's Day post that you all probably see on my page, I posted him first before he posted me. And I used to have this rule, like, I'm not posting no dude till he posts me, because you ain't about to have me out here looking stupid, you know? You just not. But for him, he was just like, dang, like, she's serious. Because he actually thought I was the one playing games. And I'm like, no, bro, I thought you was going to be playing games. So I just had to, I wanted to put myself out there right away. So that way, if there was any question, if he was serious about me, it would show. And plus, I felt like I had a testimony. Like, some people knew what I had gone through and some people didn't. But I also wanted the world to know, like, you can move on and be happy. Like, the world doesn't end because your last relationship didn't work out. And plus, I've always been one of those people, I want to show people what love looks like, to give people hope. Like, some people feel like they can never find the person that's for them, and like, I'm here to show you, like, I've been through multiple people and I really feel like this person is it for me, because I've never felt that way about anyone before, and it's only been now 8 months. So, all right, next question. How did you know when you were ready to get in a serious relationship? So that's a good question, because I actually didn't know. I was waiting on God to show me, because like I told you all, a month before I met Kim, I was committed to sitting my butt down somewhere and waiting for my husband to present himself, because I felt like I kept moving at my own pace, and until I felt ready, I wasn't gonna get the right person. And I think God too wanted me to see, like, okay, you keep on thinking you can do it on your own, when you gonna sit down somewhere? So I was like, let me sit down. And when I did, and I met Kim, that's when it showed me, okay, for the right person, you'll be ready. Next question. What did you ask God for within yourself and within your man? So, love that question too. The first thing that I asked, the first thing that I asked for was within myself first. Before I pray for anything for a man, I pray for myself, because I so desperately wanted to move past anybody from my past, so that way when it was time for my next relationship, I wouldn't be dragging any baggage, and if I did, it wasn't going to be something so extensive that it would affect my relationship when it was time. I also prayed to get closer to God, because I knew that if I got closer to God, that he was going to know the heart's desires within me and give me what I wanted and bless me with what is right for me. So I just prayed for internal growth and healing, and I didn't really pray for a man, because I felt like God was wanting me to focus on him, and like in the background he would take care of all that other stuff. So as things did progress, because my best friend, like, she's the one that told me, like, I should pray for my husband before I even meet him, and I was like, you know what, that's a good point. So I was like, let me go ahead and pray for my husband. I don't know where he is in this world or what he's going through, but let me pray for him. You know, I wanted someone who loved God above all, because anybody who loves God has a good heart and, you know, understands that there's someone above them and that they are not always in control. A lot of times the arrogance and the egos of a person can really affect the way that they treat you. Humble, kind, love kids, affectionate, a communicator, God-fearing, a family-oriented person, respectful, thoughtful, romantic. Those are all the things that really, really meant a lot to me. And top on my list would have been honesty. Someone who's honest no matter how hard it would hurt. Someone that was always going to be honest with me, because I had a lot of trust issues. So, next question is, how you healed from your past, and do you think you're fully healed, or is there still trauma? So I still have some things that come up within me and Cam's relationship from insecurities that I still have from my past. I still have a fear I'm gonna be cheated on. I still have fear that someone else is gonna come along prettier or with more money or with more to offer than me, but he squashes all those insecurities, and I have no problem telling him my insecurities, and he always asks, like, what can I do to make you feel more secure, because I would never do those things to you. And one thing I really noticed about Cam is that there's no secrets, and I've done all of my investigations and there's nothing there. And even to the point, one thing that I really liked about Cam, and that I didn't even do, was whenever somebody DM'd him, if it was a female, he would be like, hey, maybe I just want to show you so-and-so DM me. And I'll be like, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. And on my end, I wasn't doing that because I felt like he's not insecure. I'm the one that's insecure, so he's doing that to make me feel better. But in reality, he told me, he's like, why don't you do that with me? And I'm like, he's like, I feel insecure sometimes too. And I'm like, wow, like somebody who can admit their insecurities is like a big deal. So I started sharing with him my insecurities, and in return he did things to help secure me. But yes, there's still trauma, and I'm still working on getting past those things, and he's fully aware of them. So that's helpful. What questions did you ask him when entering your relationship? So I kind of touched on this earlier in the video, but like some questions I asked him, like, are you a cheater? What would you do if you weren't happy in a relationship? Like, would you walk away? Or, you know, how do you handle conflict? What do you do when you get mad? What are some things that make you really mad? And do you want children, and where do you see yourself in the future? How many kids do you want? Do you see yourself getting married? Are you a commitment type of person? Because some people aren't the type to commit. What are your expectations of being in a relationship? And what do you consider flirting? And what do you consider cheating? Like, all those things I wanted to know up front, so that way I could know what type of person he is. And ironically, a lot of the things that I felt were flirting or disrespectful to a relationship, he agreed with me. Did you have doubts about dating again, and how did you overcome them? Oh, girl. I had so many doubts. Like, my name was Doubts. So, sorry, y'all. Somebody just called me. My name was Doubts, and he squashed all my doubts. And I still have my doubts to this day, but I think it's natural to have doubts. I never, let me put it like this. He always told me never get too comfortable. And he said, I want you to always be on your toes, and I want you to always be alert to your surroundings, because as a person, you should always be that way. And I'm like, dang, that's like real, because when you get too comfortable, that's when you start slipping on your own stuff, you know. And I never want to slip up and get comfortable, or I never want him to slip up and get comfortable. Like, I want us to always be on the same page if we can be. Let's see, another, how long did we date before we made it official? I already answered that one. What was your first impression when you met him? Is he now who you thought he'd be? My first impression when I first saw him was, oh my God, he's so young. My first impression was, oh my God, he looks so young. He didn't have any mustache. He didn't have any facial hair. And I was just like, he's got to be like 21. But he's actually 25. So he'll be 26 in a couple months, which makes us almost like 2 years apart. Let's see. What was my first? Yeah, so that was me. He is exactly who I thought he would be. Just based off of our first interactions with each other, he continued to be that way, and I was excited about the consistency. Next question, what made him different from your past relationships, and how did you know he was for keeps? The main thing that made him different was like the honesty, the communication, and his love for God. Like, those three things right there just showed me like, okay, I was not the one that was tripping all these years. Had to get that out. It wasn't me, y'all. I was communicating. I was like trying to get trust, and I was trying to get understanding and security. And he gave me all that and I gave him all that in return. So it was almost like a cup. We continued to pour into each other, and he always takes care of me first, which is something different. I haven't experienced a relationship where someone's always making sure I'm good first, and anything that they do, they're always considering me. That was new to me. He would just be like, hey babe, how you feel about me going over to my friend's house tonight? And I'm just like, baby boy, are you checking with your girl? Go ahead, babe. Next question. How did you know you were ready to open up to a man and know it was genuine? So I knew I was ready to open up to Cam when I started developing feelings for him. I felt like he needed to know what hurdles I had to get over that would prevent me from being fully open the way that he was. I don't want him to think, oh, you acting funny, she maybe not feeling me. I wanted him to know, like, no, if I act this way, it's because of this, or, you know, hey, I had a bad dream last night about this. And from that point, I felt like he made it very easy to open up to him. You know, there's things that I've told him that I've never told anybody, like, and it's just amazing to know that I could do that with him. And the reason why I felt like I could open up to him is because he's told me things that he's never told anybody. He's told me things about himself that I could tell, like, that's just not something you tell anybody. So he really built that trust between both of us and really created an open door for us to be able to communicate and not feel judged. How did you know he was deserving of you? I love that. I felt like he was deserving of me because I was deserving of him. And what I mean by that is, I knew I deserved someone who respected me. I knew I deserved someone who loved me and gave me all of the love that I deserved. And I looked at him like, oh my God, like, if I don't hold on to this, somebody gonna take this. And because I felt that way about him, I knew that he felt that way about me. That's how I knew he deserved me. There was no disrespect. There was no games being played. Like, anybody who takes you serious from the very beginning, they deserve you. If they respect you, they deserve you. And he's also open to constructive criticism, things that I don't like, things that I would like for him to do. He receives those things and in turn does them. Many of you know that I post videos of Cam and the flowers that he's bought me. From the very moment I met Cam, I told him, like, I love flowers, and only time a guy has ever bought me flowers was when they did something wrong. And for him to have listened from day one all the way 8 months later, let me show y'all the newest edition of the flowers that he's bought me. Look at how beautiful they are. I want to always bring you flowers because I know that's what you love. Still doing it, still consistent. Sometimes I'll be thinking he forget and he don't. He still bring me flowers. I just be like, were y'all friends first or was it an instant vibe? So we weren't really friends first. We were still pretty nervous around each other. It was just an instant vibe. Like, we could just be ourselves, and we were just really nervous around each other though. But there was still that, I feel like I have something special. I can't wait to know more. It was always like learning more about each other. We love to do that. We would sit down for hours and just play card games and ask each other questions to get to know each other, because we were just so shocked that we found someone that is interested in the same things that each other is interested in. I think as time went on, that's when we developed that friendship. We were more friends than anything, like, at this very moment. Like, that's my best friend. Like, the fact that we can joke about love and hip-hop, we can joke about something happening on Instagram, or like when I found out that Cardi B and Offset was getting divorced, I'm like, oh babe, look, and he like, what, that's crazy. And then he'll come back to me a couple days, did you hear that he ain't get no prenup? Like, just crazy stuff that I look at as a best friend. Like, we could just talk about anything and we're engaged with each other. Throughout the day, he'll send me a funny post on Instagram. We share food. Like, we love to do the same things together. So we're best friends for sure now. How did you know he was the one? Okay, I went over that earlier. Do you want to marry him or be with him for a long time? Marriage. I just know. We've already talked about it. I've never had a guy talk to me about marriage and like have a plan. Like he's told me already, like I already have a plan on what I want to do when I propose to you. Like I already have it in my mind. So he talks about things, and the way he talks about things lets me know that he's serious. And at the age that we're at, I'm just blessed, and I think he feels the same way, having someone who wants to commit in that way. Last question. How did you know you could let your guard down? Actually, it took me a while, probably about 4 months. About 4 months for me to let my guard down. And he knew it was still up. He would still ask me and be like, so your guard's still up? So, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, why? Do you not trust me? Like, is there something I could do better? He was constantly trying to find ways to make me feel more secure. And I had to explain to him, like, it's not anything that you're doing. It's based off of my past experiences that, you know, create doubt in my mind. And so there would never be anything that he did that said, ooh, that looks real similar to so-and-so. But more so like, things are going so good. Why are they going so good? And is there something I should be looking for? Like, protect your heart. But that wasn't the case. He definitely has exceeded all of my expectations and continues to do so. We're under no circumstances perfect at all, but we're perfect for each other in a lot of ways. We have arguments, we have fights, you know, we have disagreements. Things get misinterpreted all the time, but we're always a team and we always work through it, and we hate being mad at each other. And we both have a lot of the same values. Neither one of us want to go to bed mad at each other. One of my favorite things about him is that he's not prideful in any way. Like, I'm more so the prideful one in the relationship. Like, I'll go to sleep mad, and like in the middle of the night he'll be like, so you just gonna go to bed mad? And I'll be like, oh. And I love that, because that lets me know that he actually cares how we doing, and like if we're good, he's good. And that's something special to me. A lot of times a guy will literally let their pride be their pride. If he does something I don't like, or says something I don't like, and I say something to him about it, he'll say like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to come off that way. That definitely wasn't my intentions. And I'll work on that. Like, acknowledgement is everything. My family, that was another big thing too, is my family. I wanted to know my family's opinion. I didn't really start to like fall in love with him until I knew my family loved him. And they did. They literally was like, Venus, I love him for you. Like, he's an amazing person. Like, even if we're out of town, like at my parents' house, he'll literally like make my coffee in the morning just like he does at home. Like, every morning before I get up before work, he makes my coffee for me. He packs my lunch for me. Some nights he'll cook for me. Every morning he makes my bed. He takes my dog out, and I'm just like, what a selfless person. And it's been day one. He hasn't changed or deviated from his baseline, which is something my parents always taught me, to look for consistency. And I can see a major difference in what that looks like versus what it doesn't look like from prior relationships. So I want to close this with saying, cut everybody off if you have those lingering people. If you started to and just gave in, it's not too late to start over. And when the time is right, it'll be undeniable. You will not be able to ignore the fact that this is someone special. This is different from everything else I've ever had. And I'm scared, but I'm willing to see what God has saved for me. And nobody's perfect. Don't expect a perfect relationship. Expect for it to be work. But also, it should not be a challenge every single day. Know what you want in your mind, know what you want in your heart, and if you prepare yourself for who you need to be, it'll only invite the right type of man into your life. And if you stay focused on what that looks like, he'll come and sneak right under your nose and you wouldn't even know it. I tell people all the time, I wasn't looking for no man. I didn't expect to find him. he wasn't looking for me. I wasn't looking for him. I thought he was cute. We had a little exchange, and I really was expecting that to be the end of the thing, but God had other plans. Even when I stood him up for that date, God said, no, that's not it. So I don't think about if there's a next person after this like I used to with other people. Like, this is it for me. I know this is it for me. We both talk the same way. Like, this is it for us. You know, sometimes he already says, like, my wife, like, or wifey. Like, I've never been called that or had that type of term of endearment, you know. So definitely shows me that this is something real, and it's something that can definitely happen. Just want to tell you all, thank you so much again for watching. Let me know what other videos y'all would like to see, because now I feel like I've completed the whole relationship series about what I went through and how I got to where I am. And I'm willing to open up more about different things if you have any questions, or if y'all just want to see more different types of videos about relationships, let me know. And thank y'all so much for watching. I hope y'all have a fantastic week, and I love y'all.